Our last speaker for today's session is Steve Hunt, who is JORC Chair, in providing a JORC code update. Over to you, Steve. Oh, it's a live feed, that's right, I forgot. There you go, ready to go. Thank you.
Okay, hope everyone can hear me. Welcome. Look, I'll do a pretty quick run through with the where the JORC code is in terms of its update process, because you may have noticed things aren't going quite as fast as everyone would have liked. So one of the things I like to do in these sessions is remind everyone that as humans we tend to relate to things from exactly where we sit in the world. And JORC's got a really big group of stakeholders. Of course, we've got the parent bodies of SAEMC, AIG and the Minerals Council, but we have this close relationship with ASIC and ASX as the regulator and market operator, and then we've got all these user groups, and so we've connected with the international codes. We've got a direct connection with the mines departments and their equivalents in every state and territory, government agencies like Geoscience Australia, the international institute societies, and AMEC as well, representing the junior explorers, and then all these people out on the right. One of the nature of humans is that we all tend to relate to something like JORC from exactly where we sit, so it's not uncommon for us, if we think about the structure of the conference today, is that the junior explorers in this section here think they own JORC, and then the emerging operators think they own JORC, and the major companies think they own JORC, and then the regulators think they own JORC, and everyone forgets that everyone else exists from time to time. So we opened up this time last year a public comment period for 3 months. We got over 8,000 comments come through. Some of those were good, constructive feedback. Some of them were quite wide-ranging for you people in the audience. When someone gets a soapbox, sometimes they really let it rip, and so they were really quite wide-ranging. Sometimes people were complaining about the JORC thing is about what the regulators do, so it was going through the wrong mailbox. The long personal reflections came out, the war stories, all those sorts of things, and of course you have to decode those before you can make them useful. There was a real touch point in the media around ESG, and particularly to do with the Regis Resources decisions in New South Wales, and that caused a lot of very precise feedback. We have gone through the process of treating all the submissions with respect, and all the letter feedbacks and all the different forms, and we dragged all that together. The main areas we got commentary on are really exactly the same areas that we had a line of sight on beforehand. Once we got all the commentary in, we had to go back to the various working groups, cut the code up into pieces, go back and re-engage with ASIC and ASX, and actually create an updated full redraft of the code. So that process really took a big part of the first half of the year, and there was quite a wide range of areas we had to reset. The other thing we had to do, of course, is when we get the draft closer to going, then we have to get the legal review of the code and the CV record processes and the like. So that's all underway presently. But I'll cut to the chase. There was a lot of commentary about, wow, this has got really big. And of course, as we got all of the feedback and we had a second crack at refining that, we managed to squeeze it up a bit, which I'm sure will make some people quite happy. There's really this embedding this 3-layer model where the code is codified, is mandatory. The guidance is how to interpret the code, and the extended materials, the extended how-tos, the case studies, the commodity-specific stuff sits at the 3rd level. And that's the way it will come out. The reason why we do that is that the code has to go through a long and tortuous process. You can update guidance in between, and the extent of materials is more or less a library that as new stuff comes into play, it can be added to. But it's not mandatory, it's there to help. And so that becomes the most editable form. Table 1, the sort of the volume in Table 1 is squeezed up significantly from the draft that went out last year. Very much refocused on the if not, why not elements. And they have to be material with high enough frequency across the industry to earn their place. So having 1%ers in Table 1 doesn't work. They really shouldn't be there. So they should be covered under, if it's otherwise material, please tell us about it. So the documentation, there was some stuff that had crept into Table 1, which was more about how to write your documentation. So that isn't there anymore. The how to write your documentation stuff will sit in extended materials where it should sit. We've made up a new term because we were repeating the words exploration results, exploration targets, mineral resources and ore reserves about 100 times through the code. They're now called the JORC code elements. So that just compresses it and creates a bit of a word tax. And the main thing with that is to make it clear that the JORC code elements are the areas that the competent persons are responsible for in the public report. The expansions of that the managing director wants to talk about, or the other bits, don't fall under that category. And so that's just tightened up about who's signing off on what. There was a lot of submissions and a lot of debate around the idea of supporting specialists for competent persons. When we looked at all of that, including from the regulators and from the various industry bodies, it really was not supported. There was a lot of fear and at times I think distrust of the professional status of the other groups. So while we thought that would be useful, I'm not sure the industry is fully aligned to that, or there is a maturity around it. The distrust was perhaps more about the ability of non-professional body type specialists to be able to come in and have a contribution to sign off. So what that does then is that says that the competent persons are actually in the sign-off seat. They can use contributing competent persons or specialists only if there's a reasonable basis to do so. And so the competent person in the end has to own everything that relates to the JORC code elements in the public report. The CV of record will go ahead. It's undergoing legal review at the moment. For clarity, it's focused on the areas related to the activities as a competent person. It's not your entire professional CV since you're a graduate or how many people you supervised in your last job. It's the supporting relevant experience piece in the areas you're acting as a competent person. So that's the model that's moving forward. We had mention of an induction in there. We realised that the induction would age fairly quickly, and so it's come out and it'll go into the guidance. Gosh, ESG. ESG means a million different things. And if there's a lesson we've had, which is don't use an acronym that everyone's got their own personal meaning of, because they will bring that personal meaning into the debate. And so what we were trying to do is to get people to think about the environmental, social, or regulatory elements of the project being reported. And of course, everyone was crossing that over to what the boards have to do, and it being far more than the project being reported under JORC. So we've actually just ditched the acronym altogether. We've focused it back on the modifying factors that relate to the project being reported under JORC. At the stage it is now, not what it could evolve to in 10 or 20 years. So people went, right to the worst possible outcome with some of the submissions. that will align very much with international codes. So people are saying, well, JORC's getting ahead of the rest of the world. Well, no, we won't be. And so that gets very much aligned to what you have to do in Canada or what you have to do in Chile or what you have to do anywhere else. The modifying factors piece is always about available and material, not about what you might discover in another 3 rounds of exploration or development. It's what you know now. So major recalibration of that. What was that large matrix will end up in the extended materials library for people to think about in structuring their studies. But it, again, calibrated to things that could create a material impact. If ESG isn't interesting enough, opportunities and threats, the opportunities and threats, there's a significant concern about crossover to what the board has to do there. And from the regulators, they're worried about the words opportunities creating a massive loophole for blue sky promotion. And so no one wanted that sort of terminology. Uncertainty around the project being reported does make sense. And so there's a whole calibration of what the text is in that space. And again, sometimes an uncertainty map's useful. It'll go in the guidance. But again, the words are very much, this isn't about the corporate risk matrices that might cover anything from lightning strikes to steel cap boots to, things that are way outside the actual project. So that will again be clarified. Technical summary, we'd put that in. Everyone thought it was something different to what the ASX listing rules actually already ask for. And so that's been perfectly clarified and will be exactly word for word with what the ASX already asks for. But we need it in the code because it wasn't then applying to JORC in any other country or market. We were having a 2-speed JORC happening. We had to report under JORC, report what the ASX wanted in Australia as well. And then if you went to a different market in a different part of the world, you could just do the JORC version. None of the additional ASX things actually applied. So 1-speed JORC, and our intent is to have a report under JORC to have to say, cover exactly the same territory if it's reported in Australia as if it's reported to another market in another part of the world. That would also then apply to using JORC for reporting to a third group like State or Territory Mines Department and the like. So JORC is JORC and 100% JORC rather than there being 2 versions of it. Reasonable prospects, clarification on the assessments has come through, and the idea that the competent person's documentation is what the competent person's put together that's drawn upon for the public report. The competent person's documentation is not the public report. So just getting clarity around that. There was a lot of confusion in the feedback that we got. And so we have to own that confusion and make it as clear as we can. To the explorers here, and the talk we just had this morning, the way that JORC was written, exploration seemed to be drilling and nothing else, right? Geophysics has mattered for a very long time. Geochemistry has mattered for a very long time. So there's a rework of the exploration elements to make sure any form of sampling or sampling tools and should be reported. The other one that was missing is that exploration targets was in the text, that it didn't exist in the table 1 and figure 1. And so that's also been tidied up in the new draft. So I know this is all pretty quick, but where we are right now, there's a much fuller version of this set of slides and a full document about the backup behind the survey, which was published a couple of months ago. The next slide will show exactly where that is. The legal review is underway with Allens in Perth. At the end of the legal review, we still have to come back and tidy that up with ASIC and ASX as our key stakeholders. We think that extra piece of work is coming back again. The code won't be physically out for everyone until later Q1 next year. We were hoping to get parts of that sorted before Christmas, and of course we're going to go into the black hole of an Australian summer, and everyone turns their email off as they do. There will be a gap between the code being available for everybody and when it gets written into the listing rules. That's an ASX process. We don't own that, and so there'll be a consultation and a transition period that's quite clear. It's not going to sneak up on anybody. So that's the sort of the final version of it. We believe in Q1 2026, the code will be out. It'll be out for public access well ahead of the implementation into the listing rules. I would be surprised if that listing rule lockdown process is implemented in anything faster than 12 months. There'll be plenty of time for companies to get their head around the new code and how to do it. And I'm just going to stop on that slide and leave it up on our website. Those 3 documents are there. So the longhand version of the summary of the changes, a full set of the presentation slides, so 3 times what you've seen from me this morning, and a full recording of that long set is actually available too. So if you want to jump on our website, you can grab that. And that's me done.